The name Ted Bundy strikes fear and disgust in the hearts of many people. He was a man who seemed to have it all: good looks, intelligence, and a bright future ahead of him. But beneath the charming exterior lay the sinister truth. He was a man of many faces. Unfortunately, his good looks and charm allowed him to lure unsuspecting victims, mostly young women, to their deaths. Bundy's case captivated the nation as investigators struggled to understand what drove this seemingly normal man to commit such heinous acts. Buckle up for a bone-chilling deep dive into the twisted world of Ted Bundy, who evaded authorities and left a trail of terror. On November 24, 1946, an unmarried woman named Louise Caldwell gave birth to Ted Bundy in Vermont. Ted was raised by his grandparents due to the stigma associated with his birth, and his mother pretended to be his sister. Later, they relocated to Tacoma, Washington, where Louise married Johnny Bundy and had additional children. Bundy's childhood was marked by instability, and he moved around frequently with his family. He struggled to fit in at school and was often bullied by other children. Despite this, he was a bright student. After graduating high school in 1965, Ted Bundy embarked on his academic journey at the University of Puget Sound. However, Bundy's insatiable thirst for knowledge led him to transfer to the University of Washington the following year to study Chinese. At the University of Washington, he met Diane Edwards, a fellow student with whom he would later become romantically involved. However, Bundy's academic pursuits were cut short in early 1968 when he dropped out of college and worked several low-paying jobs. Despite his lack of direction, Bundy remained politically active and volunteered for Nelson Rockefeller's presidential campaign. He even acted as Arthur Fletcher's driver and bodyguard when Fletcher ran for lieutenant governor of Washington state. Bundy's ambition eventually paid off when he was awarded a scholarship to study Chinese at Stanford University in the summer of 1968. But Bundy's personal life was in turmoil. Edwards had grown frustrated with his lack of maturity and ambition, and she ended the relationship before returning to California. Soon after, a sudden revelation struck Bundy like a bolt of lightning. The truth about his parentage, once shrouded in secrecy, now stood before him, forever changing him and his understanding of the world. After a tumultuous period in his life, Bundy returned to Washington state in 1969 and met Elizabeth Kepler, a single mother who would become a significant figure in his life. With newfound focus and determination, he re-enrolled at the University of Washington as a psychology major and quickly became an honor student, earning the admiration of his professors. In 1971, Bundy took a job at Seattle's Suicide Hotline Crisis Center, where he provided support and guidance to those in need. He also became a father figure to Kepler's young daughter Molly, who looked up to him with admiration. However, as Molly grew older, she began to realize that the man she had trusted and respected was not who he seemed, as she experienced abuse and inappropriate behavior from Bundy. Bundy's professional life was on the rise as he became deeply involved in politics and law. He played a key role in Governor Daniel J. Evans' re-election campaign, using his skills to shadow and record Evans' opponent, former Governor Albert Rossellini. Bundy was employed as Ross Davis's assistant after Evans' victory and was also given a position on the Seattle Crime Prevention Advisory Council. Meanwhile, Bundy's personal life became more complicated. While courting his former girlfriend Diane Edwards, he was also dating Elizabeth Kepler, and neither woman knew about the other. But Bundy abruptly ended his relationship with Edwards in January 1974, leaving her confused and hurt. Bundy later claimed that he only wanted to prove to himself that he could have married her, but Edwards saw it as a calculated act of revenge. As the disappearance of young women began to escalate in the Pacific Northwest, Bundy's attendance at law school became sporadic until he eventually stopped going altogether. The dark side of Bundy's personality was beginning to emerge, setting the stage for a terrifying and deadly chapter in American history. In 1964, Ted Bundy began a string of attacks on young women across the Pacific Northwest region of the United States. He entered the apartment of Karen Sparks and bludgeoned and sexually assaulted her, leaving her with physical disabilities. Over the next few months, he abducted and murdered several young women, most of whom were college students. Investigators grew concerned as the missing women had little in common apart from their youthful, white, attractive appearance. Fear spread throughout the region and pressure mounted on law enforcement agencies. The killings in Oregon and Washington came to a head in July 1974 when 2 women were kidnapped from a busy beach in Issaquah. Witnesses report seeing a handsome young man identify himself as simply Ted, while wearing a white tennis outfit and a sling on his left arm. A sketch of the killer was drawn, causing Bundy's girlfriend to grow suspicious. She contacted the police, but their investigation found no evidence linking Bundy to the crime. The mystery persisted and the truth remained elusive. In August 1974, Bundy moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, to attend the University of Utah Law School, leaving behind his girlfriend, Elizabeth Kepfer, in Seattle. Bundy dated numerous other women while studying law. In September, he raped and strangled a hitchhiker in Idaho and killed a 16-year-old girl in Utah in October. In November, Bundy attempted to kidnap a woman from a mall, but she escaped. Later that same evening, he abducted and killed a 17-year-old girl. In January 1975, Bundy returned to Seattle to visit Elizabeth. Despite Elizabeth's constant suspicions and attempts to alert the police, Bundy remained elusive. Any efforts to bring him to justice were unsuccessful due to a lack of evidence. In 1975, Bundy relocated his murderous rampage to Colorado, where he killed 2 more women and left a spooky trail of horror and misery in his wake. In the midst of the murder spree, investigators turned to a primitive payroll computer to crack the case. With clever database queries, they eventually caught their man, Ted Bundy. Bundy was arrested in 1975 by Officer Hayward when he was fleeing at high speed at the scene of the patrol car. As police searched his car, they discovered several items that they initially thought to be equipment used for burglaries, including a ski mask, a second mask made of pantyhose, a crowbar, handcuffs, garbage bags, a coil of rope, and an ice pick. Items found inside raised suspicions, leading to a search of his apartment. Despite finding incriminating evidence, police did not have enough to detain him and he was released. Bundy was put under 24-hour surveillance by the Salt Lake City police, while detectives interviewed Elizabeth Kepler, who revealed suspicious objects found in their home. She also mentioned Bundy's warnings and odd behavior towards her appearance. It was confirmed that Bundy was not with Elizabeth during the disappearance of the Pacific Northwest victims. Bundy's car proved to be a crucial piece of evidence, as FBI technicians found hair strands matching 3 of his victims. After a lineup identification, he was charged with aggravated kidnapping and assault. The Aspen Summit brought together investigators from 5 states, convinced Bundy was their man but in need of further evidence. Bundy waived his right to a jury trial for the DeRange case and was found guilty. He later attempted to escape prison with an escape kit, but he was soon found hiding in prison bushes. On a summer day in 1977, Ted Bundy made a daring escape from custody, cementing his status as a notorious criminal. In a bold move, he jumped out of a window at a courthouse in Aspen and fled into the wilderness. Despite his injured ankle and lack of provisions, Bundy managed to evade capture for several days, even stealing a car to aid his escape. However, his freedom was short-lived as he was eventually caught and returned to jail. But Bundy would not be deterred, and he plotted another escape, this time from the Garfield County Jail. With meticulous planning and sheer determination, he sawed through the ceiling of his cell and slipped away into the night. The audaciousness of Bundy's escape left law enforcement stunned and cemented his legacy as a criminal mastermind. Bundy's travels led him to Tallahassee, Florida, where he initially tried to lead a legitimate life, but eventually gave in to his criminal tendencies. On January 15, 1978, he brutally attacked 4 women at the Chi Omega sorority house, leaving 2 dead and 2 injured. In a frenzy of violence, Bundy unleashed his wrath on innocent victims, leaving a trail of terror in his wake. But his days of freedom would soon be numbered, as he was finally caught after a dramatic police chase that ended with his arrest. Ted Bundy's trial began on June 25, 1979 in Miami, Florida. He was accused of 2 counts of murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. During the trial, Bundy represented himself and managed to delay proceedings and challenge evidence, but ultimately, he was found guilty and sentenced to death on July 31, 1979. Bundy was also tried and sentenced to death for for the murder of 12-year-old Kimberly Leach in Florida. He was also suspected in multiple other murders across several states. Bundy's attempt to avoid the death penalty failed. Finally, on January 24, 1989, he was executed by an electric chair at the Florida State Prison. His execution was witnessed by over 40 people, including family members of his victims. Ted Bundy, a name that sends shivers down the spine, is a man who terrorized America with his unspeakable acts of violence. Despite his confessions, the true extent of his atrocities will forever remain unknown. His denial of some killings and hints to others have left a dark shadow on his legacy, cementing him as the embodiment of heartless evil in American history. Thank you for watching True Crime Prime. Kindly subscribe to our channel and remember to like, share, and comment.